We are going to talk a lot in this podcast about being an international nomadic family. So when we talk about moving to other countries, we'll talk about visas, we'll talk about health insurance. There's going to be a lot that we talk about that does apply to a nomadic family who is moving internationally. Hey there, and welcome to the Digital Nomad Family Podcast. This is the place where families who have or want to have a nomadic lifestyle come together to talk about the highs and lows that this life brings. We celebrate the joys and support each other in the hard. So, if you are a digital nomad family or will be in the future, this is the place for you. We're glad you're here. Hi, and welcome to the Digital Nomad Family Podcast. I'm your host, Marissa from Family of Dashes, and we would love it if you would find us on Instagram. We are at Family of Dashes. And one day I will explain that name a little bit to you guys, I promise. It has kind of a double meaning. So this episode is sponsored by Divi Agency Coach. Now, full disclosure, my husband Eric is the owner of Divi Agency Coach, but that doesn't make it a bad sponsor, because what Divi Agency Coach does is help people create a business just like ours. So if you're interested in creating a web design or digital marketing business, then this could be something really helpful for you. Just like its name says, Divi Agency Coach is a coaching business, which means Eric will help you figure out the best next step for your situation and what you should do and how to get there. So as a business owner, Eric knows that there's no, quote, one size fits all answer to a question. And he really does his best to help you think about what you need to do to have the most successful company you can have. So if you're looking for a way to get into a more time or location independent job, maybe check out Divi Agency Coach and see if it would be a good fit for you. So we're going to just dive right in to this episode because it's episode number 1. Nobody knows who I am, what this is. It's all brand new, right? So this podcast is 100% dedicated to digital nomad families. So if you are a family, and by family I mean children, not do I think that a married couple is a family? 100% yes. By family we mean there are children involved. And digital nomad meaning you are at least location independent, and you are taking advantage of that. So you are moving around from place to place. We are going to talk a lot in this podcast about being an international nomadic family. So when we talk about moving to other countries, we'll talk about visas, we'll talk about health insurance. There's going to be a lot that we talk about that does apply to a nomadic family who is moving internationally. So if that is something that sounds like you or sounds like something you want to strive to become, you are in the right place. So welcome. That's what and who this podcast is for. A digital nomad family. And hopefully we will learn from each other. I have only been traveling internationally for about 6 months as a family. So I have so much to learn, and I cannot wait to meet people that have been doing this longer, that are smarter than me, and we can just learn from each other. Because of the fact I have been doing this for about 6 months now, I do have a little bit to offer, so I don't feel like I'm completely helpless, but I definitely don't feel like I am in the deep end of the knowledge pool yet. So I cannot wait to have people on that are able to really talk in depth about certain issues. And if you have any questions that you want to get answered about the podcast, about being a digital nomad family. Hopefully this will become the place where you can get those questions answered. So today's episode is just a introduction. Who am I and why am I talking? So a little bit about me. I am Marissa. I am a Christian. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm a teacher, and I'm a traveler. I have been married to my husband, Eric, for almost 13 years, and I love traveling with him. I love living life with him. He is easily my best friend, and you guys will get to know him as he comes onto various episodes. He works from home because he owns, how should I say this? It's not multiple companies, but he owns a company and does different things with that company. So he has Divi Agency Coach, where he helps people realize and reach their dreams of having a web design and digital marketing agency. And then he owns a web design and digital marketing agency as well. So it's all connected, but there's different ways it's expressed. We have 4 kids. Our youngest is 9, and our oldest is just about 15. We have 2 kids. Our 2 oldest kids are adopted, and our 2 youngest are biological. Their names are, from oldest to youngest, Martin, Stoyanka, Riley, and Ryan. And if you go onto our Family of Dashes Instagram page, one of our favorite things to do is give the kids' POV on international travel. And a part of their schooling is to find an image. They each have some type of camera device, whether it's a small digital camera or just using one of our phones. They have to take a picture once a week and then write something about it. And we love to do that on Instagram. So every week you'll see, I shouldn't say every, we do miss some weeks. If you are a homeschooling, world schooling, unschooling, whatever type mom or dad, you understand when we say always, it's the goal is always, but it doesn't always happen. But the goal is every week they post an image and they talk about it. And I love that because I do believe that getting the kids' perspective on international travel as a digital nomad family is very important. And that will be something we talk about on this podcast, is how do we keep our kids involved and engaged and help them feel like they do have some control over what is happening around them as they are moving around the world. And for us, this is one of those ways. So we would love it if you would check that out, and we have fun over there. The kids love to do reels, so I'm sure you'll find a couple entertaining reels about that. So why are we traveling? How did we get into travel? How did the travel bug bite us? When we went over to Eastern Europe to meet Martin and Stoyanka on our adoption trip, by we I mean me, Eric, Riley, and Ryan, were able to do a little bit of international travel. Martin and Stoyanka couldn't travel with us then because legally they were not our children. So even though in our heart they were ours, legally they weren't. So the visits were very controlled. But me, Eric, Riley, and Ryan were able to stop in Paris and London on those trips. And we loved being around other cultures, other types of food. When we were in Martin and Stoyanka's birth country, it was so different than the world Riley and Ryan were growing up in, and Eric and I grew up in, and we loved it. The culture shock didn't scare us. It almost wrapped its arms around us like a comfort blanket and opened our eyes to this idea of this world is so big and people are so amazing, and the way that different places do different things is gorgeous, and we just wanted to see all of it. So that's trip one. The country that Martin and Stoyanka were born in, legally we had to leave them there, and then we went and picked them up a few months later. And maybe one day we'll do an episode a little bit more adoption related, but well, we'll see. And so when we brought Martin and Stoyanka home, we landed in America on February 2nd, 2020. And if you are connecting dots, March 2020 is when the world completely shut down because of COVID. So here we are, a brand new family of 6, having this very intense desire to travel, yet stuck in our house. And that was a big thing. Now, thankfully, we were able to do a little domestic travel. During that time, we were able to do some traveling down south in the United States. We went to New Orleans and Mississippi, and we were able to find some things to do. We also learned and planned and prepared and did all the things to do a backpacking trip on the Appalachian Trail, which the Appalachian Trail is a long hike in America. And we did about 40 miles. We did the entire state of Maryland, that section. And we did that during COVID. And we will definitely get into that one day about more adventure type travel. We did not love it. It was so hard. We're so glad we did it. But if you ask any of the kids, they'll tell you, glad I did it. Don't ever want to do that again. So that's something we did during COVID. And then things start to open up and we realize, hey, we have a couple months with nothing happening in our life. So what are we going to do? Are we just going to stay here at our home in Virginia and just kind of live life day to day, which there's nothing wrong with that at all? Or do we want to go and do something? So we decided we were going to travel during the winter time because we had no kids activities happening. We had nothing holding us here. So we decided we're going to use it as a time to travel now that the world was opening up again. So we were able to go to Istanbul for 2 months. And then we were in Prague for 2 weeks. And then Poland for 1 month. And then when we landed back in the States, we knew we are becoming a digital nomad family. Now, that trip did not start out as a test trip. What I mean by test trip is a trip that you take with all the intentions of going, are we going to become a digital nomad family? So we're going to go on this trip and we're going to go on an extended trip and see how the kids do, see how we do. Do we enjoy it? Do we like it? What do we need to adjust in our lifestyle? Is there anything we need to buy to make this lifestyle work out better? And then you come back to America or wherever your home country is. For us, it's America. And then you say, okay, yes, we're going to do it, or you've made the decision not to. And we're going to talk about a test trip in a few episodes and how to plan one, how to do one, and all the test trip things. That trip to Istanbul did not start as a test trip. We did not start the planning of it to be that. But by the time we got on the airplane, we knew exactly that that's what it was. It started as just we should just go on kind of a vacation during the winter time because we don't have anything here. So let's just go and then we'll come back and the wanderlust will be tamed, if you will. But as we were doing the planning for it, we just fell more and more and more in love with this idea of seeing the world and going to as many places as possible. So by the time we left Istanbul, we knew 100% we are going to become a digital nomad family. And we had many conversations with the kids about it. We talked about things we needed to do differently once we started this lifestyle, things that the kids are going to want to do, things that we need to do. And they were very involved in not making the decision. Eric and I definitely made the decision, but the kids were involved in the conversations. I hope that makes sense. We didn't look to the kids for a yes or no on becoming a digital nomad family. We looked to the kids on what can we do as your parents to make this the best experience for you, because this is going to happen. So how can we make it the best for you? And I'm really excited because our youngest son, Ryan, is going to come on in a few episodes and talk about the test trip and talk about conversations we had. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear his take on it. So we get back to America, and now we are packing up a house, finding another house in Lima, Peru, which is where we are headed for the next few months. We're buying out our cell phones. We're figuring out insurance. We're doing all these logistics of how do we move our family to another country. And I cannot wait to talk to you guys about that kind of stuff, because as I'm trying to do research, I'm feeling a little lost. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because there's not a lot of resources out there for families. There is a great amount of resources for single people, for couples, for younger people, for even a family taking a gap year idea. But for us, this is not a gap year. For us, this is our lifestyle now. And I'm excited to help more families figure this out as a lifestyle. So that's a little bit about me, about our family, and what this podcast is going to be like. And I am excited to see where this goes, who we'll get to know and see, and what all we're going to learn from each other. And I really think it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful community. So thank you for being here. And I cannot wait to see what happens next.